Well, Britney Spears was in the news again recently. Apparently, there was an incident in Las Vegas where she had claimed that a security guard had slapped her, and she filed a police report. And then the police reviewed the footage, and they didn't quite agree with what Britney Spears had said with this whole alleged account. But I'm going to be looking at Britney Spears' chart today just to get an idea of what are the energies that's affecting Britney Spears. How is her perspective of everything that's going on? I did a video and a chart reading a few months ago, back in February. So it'll be interesting to get an update because I feel like this incident, when we have these really traumatic sort of incidents come up in our lives that affect us emotionally, they are very much motivated by our karma and what kind of planetary periods we're in at that current time when they happen. So that's what we're going to be taking a look at today. If you're new to my channel, make sure you like and subscribe, hit the notification bell so you can get all of my videos. I do videos on celebrities, royal family. I do monthly predictions, special transits, and I also do teaching videos. So you want to make sure you're keeping up with all those videos. If you're interested in a personal private reading, check for details down below. I am running a special discount for the month of July. So if you're interested, take a look at that. All right, so let's go take a look at Britney Spears' chart. I'm going to be pulling that up right now. And of course, a quick disclaimer, this is for entertainment purposes only. These are all allegedlys. The incident in Las Vegas, all allegedlys. Britney Spears, we're just speculating as the astrological energies. Now, one of the first things I want to bring up with Britney's chart is I noticed that she's in something called Sati Sati. And let me write that down for all of you right here. Sati Sati. And Sati Sati occurs when Saturn is going, when it transits the sign before your moon, it transits the sign of your moon, and then it transits the sign after your moon. So let's take a look at Brittany's chart. Transiting Saturn is currently in the sign of Aquarius, and it's going to be there till March of 2025. So Sati Sati started way back when Saturn was in Sagittarius. It was there for, when Saturn was in Capricorn, and now it's still at the tail end of it. So Sati Sati lasts, when it's going through it, 7.5 years total. But remember, Saturn takes about 2.3 years to transit every sign. So she's at the tail end of it, but she's still within Sati Sati. So Sati Sati is a pretty difficult transit to be going through. In India, it's known as bad luck. There's a lot of people that look for remedies for it. It's associated with bad luck. It's associated with people turning their backs on you. It's associated with broken promises, broken agreements, uh, feeling isolated, abandoned. So all of these emotional fears essentially come up when we're running a Sati Sati. So I find it quite interesting that when we look at Brittany's chart, she's in the Sati Sati when this recent incident happened. So she's already feeling, could be feeling quite low about things, not necessarily, seeing things through a glass darkly would be a good saying for this. But even when we're thinking about the last few years when she was getting out of this conservatorship and, the Free Britney movement and all these things that were going on, this really was an emotional toll because this all pretty much happened during Sati Sati. And this incident is kind of a reflection of Sati Sati too. The other thing I want to bring up is that Saturn itself, not only is this Sati Sati because it's the sign after the moon, but Saturn's actually in the sixth house of her chart at the moment. When Saturn is in the sixth house, typically there's some sort of imbalance in the life. Okay. Now, the imbalance could be many things. Okay. So the imbalance could be it can be physical, it can be mental, it can be emotional, it can be spiritual, it can be with your relationships. But what Saturn is doing is Saturn is highlighting some sort of imbalance in one's life when Saturn's transiting. So it could be some sort of imbalance that's happening at the moment. Also, I want to bring up that while Saturn is transiting the sixth house, it usually also brings up a narrative of injustice. Okay. So whatever happened with this event where where she said the security guard had slapped her, and then they reviewed the video and they said that it was her hand actually hitting her face. Whatever happened with that, there's this feeling of, maybe she actually felt like she was humiliated, or she felt like the actions were aggressive, so she felt like there was some sort of injustice there. Okay, so when I'm looking at the chart, there's a feeling of injustice from her end. Okay, so she feels like there was something not just about it. Let me clean up this chart a little bit. And we're also going to talk about some other themes I see in Britney's chart at the moment. So this is a difficult next couple of years, just with that Saturn going through the sixth house. It's a difficult next couple of years. There's a sense of imbalance. There's something that needs to be remedied in her life. Okay. And it could be, that just, I mean, if we think about all these years that she was under this conservatorship and all of the issues that she may have had throughout her life, it could be kind of culminating in that she's just kind of still kind of maybe like kind of recovering from this in a way, kind of like she's trying to put the past behind her. And that could even be part of the imbalance, trying to put the past behind you. She's in a Mars Bhukti. If we look at the Vimshatari Dasha, so Mars Bhukti, and that actually started at the end of last year. So pretty much let's see, December 30th, 2022. And she's going to be in this Mars Bhukti till December 6th, 2023. So still for the rest of this year, she's going to be in a Mars Bhukti. And when you're running a Bhukti or a Mahadasha, what I like to tell people is it's like you're running a timeline of that planet. So if you're running a Mars energy, the environment may seem more conflictive than usual. You may seem like you have a lot of aggressive people in your environment. It may seem that there's highly competitive people in the environment. So if we're looking through this recent incident, through this eyes of being in a Mars Bhukti, it kind of feels like, Mars is like the planet of conflict. It's the planet of aggressiveness. So at the very least, maybe she feels that this incident was just overly aggressive, the response. Okay. And I know people have different opinions. Some people say it's justified. Some people say whatever. But remember, the chart is showing what Britney is feeling, what Britney is thinking. Just like if you were to observe a car accident, you'd have like 4 or 5 different stories depending on the witnesses that saw it. That's exactly what Vedic astrology is. It's not really necessarily, is this incident correct or not correct? It's just saying from Britney's point of view, there was some injustice that happened. Okay. And she feels that way from her point of view. All right, let us go clean up the chart. The other thing I wanted to point out, so for the rest of the year, she's still in this conflictive, Saturn's going through the sixth house, Sati Sati, Mars Bhukti. So very tamasic energies that are running in her life at the moment. Also, there could be this idea of foreign travel in the next, still in the next like 6 months. So I just want to put that out there with Mars being in the 12th house. Now, transiting Rahu is in the 8th house of Aries in Britney's chart, and transiting Rahu, it goes backwards through the zodiac. So it's going to be there till October 30th of 2023. So it's interesting, the Mars Bhukti and the Rahu transit kind of line up. The 8th house, again, is kind of like a shocking house. It represents things like trauma. It represents sudden events, shocking. So whatever happened with this particular event was definitely shocking to Britney. She's very shocked. I read her tweet about it when it happened, and it seemed like she was quite shocked about it when this happened. I feel like Britney's in a very sensitive point in her life right now. Okay. So when you're in a Mars period, it's like you could feel, and you're in a Sati Sati, it's almost like you could feel that the world, and this is all hypothetical speculation, but you can feel like the world is against you. in some sort of way, even though like people around you might be saying, no, 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 you have all this support system. You could feel isolated and alone. Like you feel like it's you versus the world. You feel like people quite don't understand you. And so there can be a lot of difficulty there. Now, what Rahu's doing through the eighth house, Rahu's actually trying to help her heal a lot of these traumas or things from her past. And that's what Mars is actually essentially doing. So when we run a Mars period, Mars, what we'll do is typically during a Mars period, we find ourselves being angry more or maybe more resentful more because Mars is like running a Martian energy into us. But if you think about like, and I'm going to draw like a stick figure here. Let's draw a stick figure here. If you think about Mars representing Kundalini and you think about like the base chakra, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. Let's say Mars represents like Kundalini energy. So when you're running a Mars period, it's essentially like this Kundalini energy that's going up through the 7 chakras. Okay, so we could call that a Kundalini awakening, but we could say that generally Mars is trying to push the energy up. Okay, just like a volcano. Okay, it's trying to push that energy up. Now, in most people, most of us have these unhealed issues that we haven't dealt with or that haven't healed properly. Maybe we've tried to deal with them. So like let's imagine you have like little blockages in your chakras, okay? And I'm just putting these marks to represent like blockages. Well, the energy is trying to go up, okay, but it's facing these blockages maybe in your chakra or your energy centers, okay? And that's where a lot of what Mars is trying to do. It's trying to heal those blockages, and then once those blockages are released, it will trigger these outer events in your life that might seem like a conflictive reality. Okay. Remember, when we're talking about Vedic astrology, when we're talking about dasha timelines, planetary periods, these are essentially memories from past lives that are replaying for you. So a lot of these situations are like unhealed situations that are being replayed. And the idea is hopefully you will learn to respond differently than you did in past lives. Okay, how do we respond in a different way? How do we learn to rise above this situation using compassion and empathy, and also not really staying too much into that victim role? Okay, so if we stay too much into the victim energy, we could actually replay that in a future life, because we're kind of having this victim victimizer polarity game that we set up. Okay. So the way out of that trap, of the victim victimizer trap, is to forgive the situation, all of the people, even yourself, involved in that situation, even though it can be one of the most difficult things you ever do. So with Britney, she's going through all this healing. And so this is showing like all these unhealed karma that's coming out. So this incident that happened to her, this was like some sort of like unprovoked, in her mind, she's thinking, I was just going up to get a picture, or I was just going up to get a signature. And there's this unprovoked movement that happened. Now, according to the people that reviewed the tape, they say that, the person quickly moved her hand and her hand hit her face. But regardless of what happened, she feels like there was this aggressive, move that was made. And that's why there was the reaction that happened. So anyways, that's what I got for Britney. I feel like she's going to be going through quite a difficult year because of all these really powerful energies. My advice, if I was to give Britney a reading, if I was like having Britney sit in front of me, my advice would be like, okay, I would recommend that you really work on like healing some of this stuff. When you have a lot of like heavy negative karma running, like you're in a Mars period, you got Saturn in the 6th house. Typically, what I would tell a client is, okay, so you're going to want to try to limit as much as you possibly can your interactions with the outside world, because the interactions with the outside world tend to run in a more negative tamasic, negative polarity. So it's almost like if you could try to like be a little bit on the down low. That's typically what I would recommend while you work internally on healing a lot of those unhealed issues that are in your energy field. So, anyways, let me know what you think down below. What do you think's happening with Britney? I'm saying my prayers for Britney. I really feel for her. When I saw some of the documentaries about the conservatorship, my heart was definitely going out to Britney. So I wish her all the best, and I hope she really heals and comes out on top. I do feel like she's going to be changing buktis at the end of the year. I feel like 2024 could be better for her, and it's in the Rahu's in the 11th house, so this could show forming a lot more friendships and even some increase of popularity during that time. So let me know what you think down below, and thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.